Hi, my name's Moonpie and welcome back to the Darktide video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the hard mode twins on Damnation, and I'll be taking you through some of the things that I learned in the many attempts that I had to do to actually take them out, and some things that are definitely worth keeping in mind for your own attempt. Now before actually talking about the fight, how do you unlock hard mode? So I won't take you through the exact process, but I'll include a link to a Steam guide in the description, which takes you through the details that you need to actually unlock hard mode. One thing that I will mention though is that it's a good idea to unlock hard mode on Uprising, which is the easiest difficulty. After you've gone through the process of ringing all the bells on an Uprising normal difficulty, it will upgrade it to hard mode. And then when you've actually beaten the twins, it will unlock hard mode for all of your runs, where at the start of the run, you'll see two bells. The left one takes you to the boss fight normally, which you'll get if you've completed Damnation, and the one on the right will take you to hard mode Damnation. Definitely worth being aware of that because it saves you a whole lot of time having to constantly do the bells on a Damnation run otherwise. Okay, so what does hard mode actually do? So it does a couple of things. So firstly, it increases the resistances that the twins have. It makes them aggro and they attack much more frequently. It spawns a whole lot more ads around the arena, and also includes the likes of crushers and other lovely elites and specialists that you don't normally face on the normal run. Now, before I actually talk about the twins in a bit more detail, I just wanted to provide a little bit of an overview of the builds that I went with and what actually worked for me. So you've probably seen a few different videos on YouTube, and any class works, but you'll generally want to be going for support abilities. So for example, I went for Voice of Command because it gives you that juicy hit of toughness as well as knocking everything down. Chorus on Zealot is good, as well as the corruption reduction keystone that the Zealot can get. Depending on how many mines you hit, you could get a whole bunch of corruption, so being able to get that down is quite useful. In this particular video, we go with 2 veterans and 2 Ogryns. My build is a slight deviation on the Darker Vet build that I have on my YouTube. So if you want a bit more information about that, then go and check that out. It's basically that build, but instead of Executioners, I've gone for Voice of Command for the support benefits. But with that out of the way, let's actually take a look at the twins in a bit more detail. So they both have different damage modifiers depending on what you're attacking them with and whether it's on them or their shield. So both of them, when they don't have their shield, have a 2x damage multiplier for melee and a 1x damage multiplier for ranged attacks. For their shields, the ranged guy with the plasma pistol, he has a 3x damage multiplier for melee, but a 0.6x damage multiplier for ranged. And the melee twin, on the other hand, has a 2x damage multiplier for melee on the shield and a 1x damage multiplier for ranged on the shield. Definitely worth keeping in mind because when you're trying to take the shields out and when you're actually trying to hit them and damage them when they're on the ground, you'll deal a lot more damage with melee than you would range. So it's obviously not always practical to be meleeing them, but you generally want to be meleeing them as much as possible. Now you're in the arena, so what do? Of the 2 twins, the plasma gun guy needs to die first. The amount of explosive corruption bombs that he puts out is run ending and he needs to be killed as quickly as possible. When you actually get into the arena, you have a very brief window where there's no specials or elite spawning, so it gives you enough time, depending on your team's DPS, to be able to take both of them down and then get them to the next stage before you've taken any damage. Obviously, it's worth keeping in mind that both of them have shields. When one goes down, if the other one doesn't go down before the blue shield recharges, the first one will regain its shield completely. So it's important to be balancing the shields and to be taking both of them out around the same time. Now, if you don't deal enough damage to either of the twins for the few seconds that their shields are down, they'll simply put the shields back up and keep going. If you deal enough damage to them, they'll actually teleport away and phase 2 will start. During this phase, the entire arena will be filled with gas, apart from one area which will be a giant fan sucking up a portion of the gas, which is a safe area to stand in. During this time, you'll have trash that spawns all around you, and it's extremely important to remember the door directly behind you can also spawn stuff. Very frequently, I've had a number of trash spawn out of that door, as well as a couple of crushers or maulers, and because no one is paying attention, the crushers overhead, and then the run is over. After a period of time, the safe haven that you're in will change to the other side of the arena, and you'll have to make your way there as soon as possible. Not doing so will result in you losing all your toughness, taking a lot of corruption damage, and then dying. As the fight progresses, the number of times you need to go back and forward between the safe havens will increase. So it's very important to be aware of when the next safe haven is available, and you need to start moving as soon as possible. During this, it's great to have a bull rush from an Ogryn to knock everyone out of the way, or using a voice of command or a chorus just to move a lot of the track that is otherwise in your way. After you've completed phase 2, the gas will dissipate and the twins will come back. It's important to note that the Plasmagon twin will constantly shoot out explosives that result in corruption if you run over them. Because there are so many scattered around the arena, it is definitely worth your time to briefly touch as many as you can whilst you're kiting the twins, as well as the trash around, to be able to explode them so they don't become an issue later on. Because if you leave them, you will very quickly run out of free space to run and you'll be corrupted and then you will die. In terms of whether you should be damaging the boss or trying to deal with adds is very much dependent on who's actually aggroed on you. If you have 1 or 2 bosses aggroed on you, you're pretty much just ducking side to side or blocking to stop them damaging you, and you don't really have time to be dealing damage to the adds or to the bosses themselves. On the other hand, if you have a whole bunch of adds on you, you generally have to deal with the adds rather than the bosses. What you should be doing at any given time is very much dependent on what your build is capable of doing and what your teammates are capable of doing. And as such, you shouldn't specifically stick to one role because that simply won't work. As you progress to the later stages of the fight, you'll often see larger and larger blobs of rages and crushers. So if you have an Ogryn on your team, it's best to save a nuke for an instance where you see a whole bunch of rages, because that could very easily be run ending. After you've taken out Plasmagon Boy, the whole poison phase stops happening, and all you have to do is constantly take out the shield of the melee one and damage it, as well as dealing with the adds. That's basically all there is to it. It definitely takes a bit to learn the different mechanics of the fight, but it's very rewarding when you figure it out and eventually beat the twins. Now, I don't have any more commentary left for the video, but I'll just let it go right to the end. I hope the guide has been useful to you in understanding how the twins work and what you can actually do to beat them. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to check out my other videos on the channel, or feel free to check me out on Twitch, link is in the description. But whatever the case, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day/night, and I'll catch you again another time. Bye.
But be assured, I'm very impressed by your ability.